The meeting will then officially be called to order. Please stand as Trustee Karen Freeman leads us in the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. This regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is authorized in accordance with Texas Government Code Sections 551.001 through 551.146. The meeting is called to order. The first item on the agenda is Superintendent's report. Dr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Chumley and members of the board, just a few things to report. The first is that one of the key purposes, as you know, for our meeting tonight is to approve the 2018-19 budget and set the tax rate that will support that budget. And I just want to say thanks to the members of our board who have studied our budget for many months now, and also thanks to David and Wes and Jennifer and all the folks in our business and finance group for their leadership in the development of our annual budget. I also want to thank the board for their participation in all of our many back-to-school events, from welcoming new teachers earlier this month to greeting administrators and their families, block walking in many cases, and of course last week's convocations. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the folks both from communications department and from our fine arts department who really are the behind-the-scenes heroes of convocation and make it come off so well. I know staff in the room would certainly agree with that statement. We are a few months away from the start of a new legislative session, but I've been in Austin quite a bit in the interim, maybe more so than in the past. And with the addition of Naomi, our GR lead, it looks like we're going to be more involved in ideas that lead into the session than we ever have in the past. And I think that can't do anything but be a good thing. Have been able to see some high school volleyball and look forward to the start of high school football, which actually begins at the end of this week. And yesterday, as you know, was our first day of school, and as every report that we've received was that it was a smooth start, and that is true for our brand new school as well, the Dr. Linda G. Mora Elementary School. So we thought we'd highlight the Mora Elementary opening in our video tonight.
Definitely reason to bring out the Holmes Mariachi Band and celebrate this morning at Northside's newest school.
It's just exciting, and just to see all the hard work finally pay off, right? To see the kids, our reason why. I say that all the time. The kids are the reason why, and for them to finally be here makes the building alive.
This is not only the first day of the new school year at Dr. Linda G. Mora Elementary, but the first time students have walked through these doors and into these halls. The school was named after Dr. Mora, who served as Deputy Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction in Northside for more than a decade.
It's incredible to see so many little kids coming in, and they're all excited about a new school, and the parents are entrusting us with their children, and it's just, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Students and parents were all smiles as they celebrated Northside's 79th elementary school and the almost 500 new Bearcats at this school.
Good morning, boys and girls and teachers. Welcome to the 2018-19 school year. We are so excited to get started as Mora Bearcats.
We have a new school, yes, it's great, and then just the entrance and the way that they greeted the students, it's a great way to start the year.
I'm kind of nervous.
What are you most excited about?
Everything.
How are you all? Good. Are you excited? Yeah, I'm excited too. My hopes and dreams are that every child that passes through these doors and comes in this school, that they create a legacy of leaving the school better than when they got here. I hope that they're nice to each other and friendly. I hope they study hard, and I hope they become, famous in their own right. So I want that for every child that comes in this school.
Thank y'all and have a great Bearcat Day.
And we want to congratulate Northside Superintendent Dr. Brian Woods on his selection as a finalist for the annual Superintendent of the Year Award. Dr. Woods is one of 5 finalists from around the state being honored for their leadership skills and dedication to improving the quality of education. The 2018 Superintendent of the Year will be announced September 28th. That's a look at what's going on around the district this week. Thanks for joining us for this video from Northside Media Productions. Northside is San Antonio's premier school district of choice.
Have no idea what that second part had to do with the opening and I know who to thank for that. But I do want to circle back and comment and just thank the board for those of us as staff who had the pleasure to work with Dr. Mora for all those years. It is really fantastic to see her as a namesake of a school, and I know she will be a fantastic namesake, and I know how excited she is for the dedication event, which will happen at the end of October. That concludes Superintendent's report, Ms. Chumley.
All right. Before we begin, and I know that all trustees have something to say, I just wanted to say we are very proud of you. Thank you so much for representing us and this school district. And I know that you don't like to be recognized, but we have it on the website. And it's that this recognition is not just you, it's the whole school district.
Absolutely. That part I'm proud of.
And it's because of your leadership and your ability for us to truly have a governance team of 8. And we're very proud of you. And regardless of what happens at TASB, you are our Superintendent of the Year.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Okay, so the next item of business on the agenda are board member reports. Does anyone have? Dr. Harrell.
So to go with your congratulations, we wanted to treat, did you put your mic on?
Not yet. Put your mic on, Carol.
Oh, I'm sorry. To go with the congratulations, we really do want you to treat yourself like royalty. And so the best way to do that is with some chocolate. And actually, one of your former students at Clark said he always came in and got a chocolate cupcake. And I said, well, let's just do it then. So, and
Broadway
probably,
Daily Bread, there's nothing wrong with that.
no, you probably need some hot tea in that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, the way I sound, yeah, absolutely.
but,
Thank you all very much. That's very
anyway,
kind.
and Melissa, thanks for congratulating him in such a great way. And also, just another point of pride, he did mention all the events that we've all been going to. And each time, Ms. Chumley, President Chumley, has done such an eloquent job expressing for the board, for our team of 8, including Dr. Woods, our sentiments about teaching and learning and our children in Northside. So thank you for that, because your words have been priceless. And also my fellow trustees at the convocation, you know, it's hard to really put into words how we feel about our teachers and staff. And everyone did such a great job. So thank you for doing that. I didn't get to Mora till the afternoon, but I got to see the final touches on the Bearcat being painted on the wall, which is so incredible. I didn't even know there was such a critter, you know. But there is, and this is a nice looking. If you look at a Bearcat you know, if you Google it, it's kind of a mean looking guy. But this one is more like the one that was hugging kids as they came in. It was really, really neat. So they were still excited. But what I was fascinated with was all the kids looking at their namesake as a cheerleader and a mother and a grandmother and a principal, and they were all looking. Her showcase is probably one of the best I've ever seen, but how the kids loved looking at her, and it was fantastic. And they have shirts, so they're not going to give you your T-shirt until you come visit, was what the principal said, and she's terrific. And you know, thanks to the teaching and learning, curriculum instruction, IT department, professional development, for the great training that our new teachers got. I think I heard so many people say, and some of them I had worked with in other districts, were, gosh, we just feel so welcome here. We've had the best professional development. And then, the Saturday work before that, and the numbers of teachers that came before their contracts were starting, just to have great professional development. So if you'll thank your team for that, just tremendous. The block walking. That was cool. Ms. Tumbley and I got to walk with Coach and some math teachers. One math, I met another math teacher that has his PhD in pure mathematics. Patty, I don't know how pure mathematics, he's like this walking Einstein, but he chooses to teach our kids. He's an O'Connor graduate, but he loves Northside, and I was just blown away by the quality of teachers, but then the depth of heart that the homes, feeder campuses, elementary, middle, and high school showed when they were going door to door, knocking and welcoming our incoming freshmen, and kind of clarifying, I think we got the opportunity to help a family say, you need to go register, you need to go sign up, you need to go see where your child is. But anyway, long story short, that was an incredible gift to our homes community. So hats off for that. And then the luncheon was great. And I know you didn't get to stay very long, but to be thanked by, and you'll probably do a better job saying all the builders and architects, but they were awesome, and the teachers really appreciate it. So I'll let someone else acknowledge that because I'm going blank on them. But anyway, thank you very much. Oh, yeah, Bartlett Cock. Thank you. Gosh, the signs are everywhere. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, President Chumley. We've honored Dr. Woods and congratulate him on his award. There's also a school board trustee here who recently was honored with an award from the San Antonio Women's Chamber, Katie Reed. Katie Reed, congratulations.
Yay.
Katie Reed has received the North Star Award. The San Antonio Women's Chamber presents a constellation of awards, and she has received the North Star Award. Katie, is that the way I understand it? It's not going to happen until November, so. Right. The North Star represents, I understand, a full range of influence, or a whole galaxy of influence. And so she's been certainly honored for her longtime leadership, and we congratulate Katie.
Yay.
And I think the award dinner is November the 10th.
Yes, it
you want
is.
to add that to your calendar. Also, regarding convocations, so many great things, but the kids were just stunning. I certainly congratulate the kids and their performance and thank them for working so hard during the summer to be able to put such a production on for all of us. It was announced, I think it was Barry who said it, or maybe Dr. Woods, the largest number of students that we've had involved in convocations ever. And so it was absolutely wonderful. And then they spent their 3 days of their last week at convocations entertaining us. So congratulations to our students. And that would be it, Ms. Chumley. Thank you.
I must respond. We are definitely very congratulatory of Dr. Woods, and I'm the only person, I think, on the board that called him Dr. Folks at the convocation. But I've just, as I told the audience that day, I think I've been here a little bit too long. So anyway, he has definitely followed in a great leader to become our great leader, and we are so pleased that that's happened. And we just know that it's been sort of a trying weekend for him also because his mother has had a broken femur and has been in the hospital over this weekend. And he's also had a 102-degree temperature this weekend. So the fact that he's even here tonight and with us is just quite amazing. I was afraid you were not going to make the meeting tonight. Cough, cough, on cue. But it has been a very busy time for our school district and for the board and staff, and having made many of the events that have already been mentioned. I'm not going to mention them all, but I did go to the first day of school at Colonies North because they have a new principal there after quite a long period of time. And it was so fun to see all the different ethnicities that are there in that school coming in. Many of them do not speak English and trying to figure out where they need to go, and they were being met by staff that would take them to the classrooms and so forth. First day of school is always very special, and it's nice to be able to do that occasionally. I've not done it every year, but I certainly did this year because I wanted to be there for that. So we are off and running to another school year, and it will be great, I'm sure. So keep it up, Northside.
Yeah, just two items. I want to extend congratulations to Dr. Woods again, and I tell you why. There were a lot of superintendents that were submitted this cycle. I mean, there was a whole lot. And if some of us have had the opportunity to be a part of that process, it is tough. It's tough to get nominated. It's tough to actually be the top 5 without a doubt, because you do have trustees with diverse viewpoints. You do have superintendents that have different degrees of successes for different reasons. And it can be a challenge when you come from a successful district to really show that you're continuing that success across the board, because most people don't understand that gap of continuing. So that was really, really good to see and really good to hear. The other one I had is we had our Bexar County School Board Coalition meeting, and it was 3 of our trustees, Katie, Carol, and not Karen. Karen, you're supposed to be there. But anyway, we're able to attend. I'm just messing with her. We had 15 districts represented, and the other 5, there's 20, long story on why, that we included in the Bexar County Coalition had contacted and said that they were definitely going to be supportive of what we decide to do. So we're going to go ahead, and everybody wants to write our second book. So we wrote one about 5 years ago about public education in Bexar County, and this group, all the districts, want to really do it this time, and we'll see what comes out of that, but we're looking forward to working together towards that.
And it'll be online this time.
Oh yeah, I guess it will be online and everything else, so it's going to be a good effort. It took us 2 years last time. Hopefully we'll shorten that this year. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've just got a couple of items. Wanted to thank Barry, Barry and his staff, James Machoka in the Fine Arts Department, Stan Lang at the for the athletic department for allowing us to use the gymnasium. Can't always forget that. He was the host of that. And then NISD Police, they did a great job in making sure we went through traffic was easy to get in and out of. So thanks to all of those guys for the convocations and everything that they did with that, especially our students. Thank you. Thanks to them, I mean, they really entertained the teachers this year, and it was a lot of them. And it was a lot of hard work. We even had our middle school kids that were involved in that. This was the first year that we included our middle school. So, Northside is growing in the Fine Arts Department, and that's one area that we're growing. So, congratulations to them. Also wanted to congratulate Dr. Woods. You're number 1 in my book already. So, I think we're good. You're all right. So congratulations on that. Dr. Katie, congratulations on your award. It's well deserving. With the amount of public service that you've given this city, this district, you're well deserving of that award. So congratulations. And I look forward to attending that in November. So. And then, also just on the from the block walking perspective, and then the first day, I attended some events during the block walking that week of getting ready for school. But what was really noticeable was the enthusiasm from the staff and the principals. So that was really good to see because it carried over in our block walking to the kids when we were walking and knocking on doors and reminding them to make sure you have your school supplies. If you don't have any, we'll take care of you. We'll help you out. So that was really good. It was I really appreciated that. The first day of class or the first day of school, I happened to go down to the transportation department and I took the bus driver some donuts, and I was there very early, but they were earlier than I was, and I thought I was early, but they were there preparing, getting the routes, and they did a great job in making sure that our kids got picked up, dropped off, and picked up again and dropped off again where they needed to be. So my hat's off to the transportation department for doing a great job, and everybody for doing a great job. And then I ended up at one of the campuses. I went to Carlos Kuhn, helped out, greeted some of the kids there, but then went and I ended at Saul Ross, where I got to help one of the police officers. His name is Officer Officer Rivera. And he and I worked together in moving the traffic in at Saul Ross to allow the kids to come in and get off. So I think I should have gotten an honorary badge or something for moving traffic. But he and I worked together along with Mr. Acosta, the principal, and so did a great job. We moved things forward, and it was just a good thing to see the kids coming in their new shoes and new shirts. So, and I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Medina?
Thank you, Ms. Chumley. Just real quickly again, thank you. I want to thank all the teachers that really put all the time and effort to prepare their classrooms for a welcoming experience for all the students that are new or, transitioning from elementary to middle school or from middle school to high school. I know my kids were a little nervous in the mornings, even though for the prior couple of days they were excited. But they have only, spoken how well, their schools are so nice and clean. So that is, for all the thanks to the custodians and all the maintenance and operation of the schools. As well, I wanted to add to the student performances, Mr. Manchoka and his staff of convocation. If you have not experienced a Northside ISD convocation, it's like no other. It's unbelievable. It's priceless, and it's one that it's only gotten better and better. And you walk away from it, and it just stays with you. The residents, the excitement, the welcoming experience, and the students' performances are by far second to none. And again, Dr. Woods, an outstanding job. You deserve the honors of all congratulations. And again, you're a leader of leaders, superintendent of superintendents, and you have always championed public education and students all throughout the state, and we wish you the very best. And hopefully in September, you're successful. And Ms. Reed, again, with all your service, you well deserve of any nomination or any recognition, but thank you.
Behind all of y'all. So I want to share a story about our block walking. So we went to multiple homes, but we went to 2 apartment complexes. And it was real interesting because there was a family that a woman answered the door with a few little ones, and she was going to have a freshman at Holmes, and she didn't speak any English. And Nellie Rodriguez was with us, as well as Coach Morales. And so they were able to talk to her and, welcome her child coming. And then we went to another home, another apartment, and it was a family that had immigrated here from Bosnia. And it was just very interesting, I thought, because you had both spectrums of immigrants that had come to the U.S. looking for a better life for their children, and they want their kids to be successful and to get a good education. And it just really hit me because you had both sides, both extremes, I think, of families that were coming to us. I just was really touched by that, Carol.
That was neat.
And it was just really neat. And so the one young man was still in Bosnia, visiting family, and so we text him this picture of us welcoming him to Northside. It was just a really great experience, and Brian, I hope that all of our feeder patterns will adapt what Holmes and Saul Ross and the elementary schools have done there, because I think it's just a great way to start school. So kudos to you on doing that. And Bobby, I wanted to let you know that next year it's going to be real interesting between you and Dr. Harrell. So last year, Bobby at Convocation did a drill program with, I'm trying to think what school.
Wasn't it Jay?
Was it Jay? Was it Jay or Brennan? Did, and he actually performed with the drill team during his, so what we try to do is to make sure that all trustees have an opportunity at Convocation to bring remarks. And so Bobby's has always been, one year he did one-arm push-ups, and then last year he did the drill in the saber, I don't know what you call that, but where you walk in, which is really neat. So Dr. Harrell this year had this J Science and Engineering come with the hoverboards that the kids created, that the kids built, and it was absolutely amazing. So between the two of you, it's just going to be, Convocation just gets more exciting because we don't know. But Dr. Harrell, that was a great idea, very well received. Have heard lots of compliments about having showcasing another aspect of Northside. So thank you very much for doing that. That was really fun.
The Science and Engineering Academy kids, the John Jay SEA kids. I think I left that part out in my enthusiasm. I hugged them, but I don't think I ever said.
No, you said their names.
Did I said their names,
you
but I don't
introduced
think
them.
I said the John Jay Science and Engineering Academy students. But their faces, they were so proud, and they were waving to their teachers, and their teachers were waving to them. They're these 16-year-olds, these big old kids, just going, you know. So that was the best part.
Well, I really appreciated you doing that, because you would have been pleased, Bobby.
Yeah.
It was really great. And it's Bartlett Cock and Jerry Lammers, Alamo Architects. And I appreciate that they do a luncheon for all of the staff at Homes in BC. I think that that's really great. They recognize that 2 years of construction has been trying on it. Not yet. I just wanted to do a shout out to Irene Alvarez, who is the community liaison at Esparza Elementary. I wasn't able last week to drop off school supplies, and so the principal contacted me, and Irene did as well, and said they were going to be there on Sunday. So I went up there Sunday afternoon, and it was Irene Alvarez, who's the community liaison. It was the principal, 4th grade teacher, 2nd grade teacher, and 3 kids. And they had built a balloon, I don't know what you call it. My words are bad tonight. The 2 pillars of balloons to welcome kids, and the 4th grade teacher had chalk sayings from the door all the way down to where the bus loop was, and down the bus loop welcoming the kids. Yeah, she was out there for a couple of hours putting those in anyway. So just a shout out to Esparza, because they were really, really, and I thought that was neat that they'd spent 4 or 5 hours Sunday afternoon to just make sure everything was ready for their kids. So it was an exciting time. Anyway, all right, so the next item of business on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have, I'm sorry, Carol, was there anything else?
No, I was going to apologize. It was Bartlett Cock, but you did it better than
Thanks.
than me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, is there a motion come for the board?
I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next item of business on the agenda is citizens to be heard. And, okay, so rules for addressing the board. We believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we will listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although we are restrained by law from taking any action. Please use the podium, address your remarks to the board, Confine your remarks to a Northside policy or practice. Limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, Mr. Lopez, the board secretary, will hold up the yellow card. At 3 minutes, the board secretary will hold up the red card. We ask that you wrap up your remarks at that point. You don't have to stop immediately, just if you'll finish them out, we'd appreciate it. Audience, please refrain from any applause or any negative response. And the speakers, please do not make any personal attacks on individuals. Thank you very much. Mr. Lopez, who is the first person?
Vanessa Ramon.
Hi. Excuse me, I'm nervous. It's my
No,
first time
that's
here.
okay.
So I'm here today because my district has a transportation issue. And I did bring my concern in an email to Dr. Woods, which I would like to congratulate you for being a finalist. And I also want to apologize. I did send him an emotional email earlier this week regarding this issue. But the reason why is because my child has to walk 1.9 miles to school. Bus is offered at 2 miles. And a school bus is provided for elementary students, and the school is in the same parking lot as middle school students. This is a burden for me because I don't have the luxury of having a vehicle right now. I am a single parent, and for some reason, weather isn't considered a hazardous issue, even though the weather does affect my child because he has asthma. We've already had 2 days with heat advisory weather when school is let out, and it's extremely hot to be walking about 2 miles to get to school and then to come home. So I want to see what we can do about getting buses provided to children. If it's an issue with drivers, what are we doing to go ahead and get more drivers? If it's buses, what are we doing to provide more buses? I want to be active in this, not only for my child, but to everyone else who has to go through this struggle.
Thank you. Ms. Ramon, could you tell us what school your child goes to?
Jordan Middle School.
To Jordan Middle School, and he or she?
It's he, Jacob Ramon.
Jacob? Hi, Jacob. Okay, and Jacob's a 6th grader?
Yes.
Okay. And, Mr. Galindo, could you? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So we'll need you to talk to Mr. Galindo, and he'll kind of direct you on kind of the next steps.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Okay, the next person is Jackson Infantine. Jackson Infantine.
Is it Jordan?
Transportation?
Scarborough Elementary, but it's the same issue. Mine is
Transportation.
elementary, first grade and younger. Same issue.
Okay.
It had TEA and then bus transportation, so I'm
And
not sure.
it's Scarborough?
Scarborough Elementary.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right.
Cecilio and Isabel Torres.
Thank you. I try to read as fast as I can. Good evening. My name is Cecilio Torres Jr., President and co-founder of Gabriela Smile Foundation. We'd like to thank the school board for the opportunity we have been given to share our story and address the school board tonight. In 2015, our daughter, Gabriela Torres, enrolled as a kindergarten student at Myers Elementary. While every parent can proudly say their child is an exceptional individual, Gabriela truly was. She was diagnosed with brain cancer in March that same year, and in August, just a few weeks before school started, she became paralyzed due to a tumor spreading into her spine. Our family was told to say goodbye to her just 3 weeks earlier. Gabriela wanted nothing more than to go to the big kids school with her brother Jaden and sister Amaris. After spending 17 days in the hospital, she came home for that weekend, looking forward to her first day of school just a few days later. Gabriela was diagnosed on March 17th with a terminal brain tumor called DIPG, diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. Doctors told us there was no treatment or known cure, and it was rare. They told us our daughter would not survive through the end of the year. They were right, and she passed away November 7, 2015. While attending Myers Elementary, she was able to experience what is it like to be a student. Even a wheelchair could not keep her from living her dream to be a kindergartner. The entire staff at Myers Elementary made those 3 short months some of the most precious of her life. They celebrated her birthday in a big way, lining up the halls with other kindergarten kids cheering her on. It was a very special day. Thank you to Miss Bonnie Taylor, the kindergarten teachers, and Principal Cecilia Garza, and the entire Myers staff for taking care of Gabriela and supporting our family during this difficult time. As a family, we now honor our daughter, Gabriela, through Gabriela's Smile Foundation. Our mission is to help families fund research and help raise awareness for pediatric brain cancer. It is our vision and hope that families who have a child fighting brain cancer will have financial support and not have to worry about money, because the only worry they should have is helping their children fight and live. Though funding research will help find a cure, the first step is awareness. Unlike other cancers, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month often goes overlooked. Childhood cancer only gets 4% of federal funding from the National Cancer Institute, and we believe that the first step to finding a cure for childhood cancer is raising awareness. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Gold in September is also known as the G9 campaign and was created by an 11-year-old little girl whose twin brother was battling brain cancer, pediatric cancer, excuse me. In October, we see the nation turn pink for breast cancer. And we are determined to have the world turn gold in September for kids battling cancer. The loss of our own daughter has inspired us to do the same. Gabriela Smile Foundation would like to invite the Northside Independent School District to join us in participating in our annual September Gold Out campaign for 2018. We would like to sell Gold Out shirts at schools who wish to participate. In order for the school to benefit as well, we would like to share $2 of every shirt sold to PTAs and PTOs. Students can wear their shirts on Fridays throughout September. In addition, we would like Northside to designate a Gold Out day on any given Friday so that students could wear them throughout the day, and also dedicate Gold Out football games for middle and high schools. In addition, Rena Vela is a high school student at Marshall Elementary who designed the t-shirt that we plan on using, Marshall High School, excuse me, who designed the shirt we plan on using. To encourage and inspire student participation, we will be hosting an art contest in searching of inspiring artwork featuring messages of hope, bravery, courage, and love. 12 winners will be selected and showcased in the Special Edition Foundation calendar for 2019. And all monies raised with t-shirt and calendar sales will benefit our foundation's grant program for families who have a child fighting brain cancer in San Antonio or DIPG across the United States, as well as grants to help fund childhood cancer research. In closing, we would like to express our sincere gratitude for the opportunity to speak with you regarding our mission to find a cure for childhood cancer. We stand here before you tonight simply as Northside parents who care about the future of our children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews. However, we are so proud and truly blessed to be here tonight because we are also the voice of the children who are fighting cancer right now and for those who have lost their battle, like our 6-year-old daughter did. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And these are the numbers where we can reach you.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Right. Thank you for bringing your message to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is, I can't really read this, but it's an H-A-R, it's Haroon? Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Haroon Monis.
Okay. Monis.
Before I begin, I want to just say that the board would be filled with a bunch of our members tonight, but tonight's board meeting coincided with a Bill Gumbert symposium. Bill Gumbert is someone who speaks to organizations like ours about charter schools and their potential damage, and so a lot of our members are getting educated on that. That's why they couldn't be here, otherwise they would be. So, on to my remarks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Haroon Monis, and I'm here on behalf of Northside AFT, the largest teachers organization in Northside ISD. We want to congratulate Dr. Woods on being named one of 5 finalists for Superintendent of the Year in the state of Texas. Superintendent of the Year is a prestigious achievement and certainly an admirable accomplishment when you consider the incredible growth of this district and the number of students, families, and employees you supervise on a daily basis. Northside is comprised of 120 schools and has an enrollment of nearly 106,000 students. Your tireless efforts and hard work on their behalf is much appreciated. We're proud to have collaborated with you on First Book Donation event last spring, which provided 40,000 books to Northside students, teachers, and parents. Thank you for supporting this event, which promotes reading, not only for enjoyment, but also as a way to improve literacy among our students. We're proud that you have mentioned this collaborative effort at the recent convocation ceremonies, and we hope there are many more opportunities to partner with you and the district to help our community in the future. We appreciate your visits to campuses throughout the district, where you see firsthand the engaging lessons, the differentiated activities, the incredible fine arts events, and the exciting sports competitions. We know you understand that to teach a student, you must first reach the student, providing opportunities for learning both in and out of the classroom and educational experiences that will benefit them in real life situations. Most importantly, by offering electives that allow students to pursue their interests and develop lasting skills that will help them throughout their lives. We appreciate all that you do to ensure the safety and security of Northside campuses and for your successful promotion and the subsequent passing of the recent bond election this past spring. We also thank you for your careful monitoring of weather conditions and ensuring the safety of hundreds of thousands of people as we experience unpredictable and often hazardous weather conditions. Your job entails so many other duties and responsibilities for us to mention here. Your hard work has improved and enriched the lives of so many. Congratulations on this remarkable achievement, and thank you on behalf of our organization, the many teachers and staff members we present, their students and their families. Thank you for being a superintendent who proves every day why this is the premier public school district in all of Texas, and for making us feel Northside proud. We wish you all the best, and we hope you're recognized as Superintendent of the Year. And we all got your back on this one. And having read these public remarks, the last thing I want to say is that we also, as the board, as the E-board, we have also written a congratulatory letter, which we have mailed to you. So expect that in the mail soon. Thank you, guys.
That's nice. Thank you.
Very kind.
Thank you.
It's the weather stuff that really makes the job valuable.
At 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, it was interesting. I'm trying to think, where were we where someone said from the other school district, oh, I know what it was, is someone was teaching a class at one of the universities, and one of the questions was, what would you do about whatever? And one of the things that they talked about was weather, was, when would you as superintendent know, who to call the weather? And so the response was they'd wait to see what Northside did.
They all sleep late
And wait to see what Northside does anyways. So those 4 o'clock in the mornings as you're driving around are very appreciated.
Who in that group is not very smart, right? I mean, that's,
But, thank you. All right, next item of business on the agenda is under curriculum instruction. We're going to talk about the business career high school curriculum, and that's Dr. Jordan.
Yes, thank you, President Chumbley and the board. As you know, Business Careers High School opened in 1991, and since then has served numerous students who've gone on to do successful things. This fall, members of the administration from Business Careers, along with members of high school instruction and CTE, came together to analyze the programs of study and really look towards the future as to what is out there to provide the best opportunities for our students. So at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Anthony Jarrett up, who's going to talk about the outcome of those discussions and some proposals we have for some refreshed programs of study.
So good evening, members of the board, Dr. Woods. As Dr. Jordan was saying, We kind of started this research back in November of 2017, really just kind of looking at where do we want business careers to be in the year 2025. Now, it sounds like a crazy number, but just putting a number out there kind of allowed us to do some research and really start talking about where is the industry going down the road. House Bill 5 really changed the dynamics of what we do in public education as far as creating a coherent path for kids to have long-term success. But before we started to talk about change, we started to really talk about what's working and what's going well at business careers, which was a lot of different things. And so as we started to have the conversation and doing research, we put together a strategic design team. This design team consisted of students, teachers, parents, administration, and many others, CTE. And what we did is we talked about what is our highest hope for the graduates from business careers. And as we started to do this research, we really started to talk about these kids need to become thinkers, they need to have technology skills, they need to be community-oriented entrepreneurs and self-starters, collaborators and communicators, and really top-tier students who focus on problem solving. And so we had a lot of good things in place that really aligned to that, to be quite honest with you. And through our research, we discovered a couple of things that were really strong at business careers. One is cybersecurity. And so cybersecurity has been one of our really success stories at business careers for an extended period of time. And so it's one of those things that we definitely want to continue, and it's not something that we want to move away from. The other thing that we felt was really strong at business careers that we continue to maintain was our computer programming. And so we felt like that as the strategic thinking group got together, they said these are things that are timeless, these are things that are universal, and these things are definitely embedded into the workforce today. So as we started to dig a little deeper into the business sector of it, we started talking about how do we conceptualize our actions and our behaviors so it aligns with industry and not to sit things in isolation or silos. And so we created a new strand, if you will, that aligns to more self-motivation and ownership, and that is entrepreneurship. And so with this new design, we're looking at all students coming in as a ninth grader, and essentially they'll be exposed to principles of information technology and principles of business marketing finance. Mainly because we want kids to see both sides of the spectrum. Before you make a decision, although House Bill 5 encourages kids to make a lifelong decision early, we felt like they need to be exposed to the bigger picture of the work. And so that first year is really about getting those kids connected, and also they're within a group of the like kids. And then by the sophomore year, they're able to start making choices. These choices can go into virtual business and social marketing, which is a new strand that we're looking at. Amazon is a prime example of how the industry has changed, where the brick and mortar is not as plentiful as it used to be. And so we felt like that was something that we wanted to start exposing kids to. And social media marketing. This generation of kids, social media is clearly something they align with. And then the 11th grade year, they focus on the entrepreneurship. Keeping in mind, entrepreneurship is inclusive of accounting, as in marketing, as in business, finance, etc. And then the last year, the senior year, is where, and actually I'll come back to that piece because it's inclusive. And then the other strand that kids will take, they'll stay in the path of computer programming, which is something we already have in place. And then cybersecurity is what we have in place as well. But the 12th grade year is where it gets really interesting. Our goal, and after the research, we found a program that's actually, there's only one school district in the state of Texas right now that's participating in it, and there's many other educational institutions around the world that are participating, and that's Virtual Enterprise International, and so is VEI. And so essentially what it does is it takes these three clusters of kids and they group them by their senior year, and where they work collaboratively on a common problem. And they actually create a business model, and they open a virtual business. This business allows kids to buy and sell. They have an HR department, they have an accounting department, they have marketing and sales, they have to do projections, they have to do industry projections, and they actually get to compete at national competitions. When we were in the school up in Dallas where this program is currently in existence, one young lady had completed 3 business models that were actually patents that was accepted, and she was accepted to Harvard Business School, and she's actually been presenting on PBS on the business model that she came up with. And so our hope with the new program is to maintain the integrity of what business career stands for, but also to embed a conceptual lens that increases collaboration and communication amongst kids and give them greater ownership and accountability in their learning, so those kids can transfer that into possible business opportunities, but also to be true problem solvers and thinkers. And so our hope, and really as we work through the structure, is going to require a lot of thinking, a lot of initiatives that we're going to have to put on the ground. But I feel like by allowing so many people from the community to be part of that discussion, and in fact, I think what made it really unique, before we did anything, every single member of that strategic thinking, which was about 30 people, they had to do a walk of the campus, and they had to meet with kids, and they had to spend time talking about what is your highest hopes for all the kids at Business Careers High School. And so all of these strands will be focused on the Business Careers program, but we will also maintain at the Holmes High School the courses such as accounting, business law, business managing, media, and animation. So kids still have those elective choices. If that lights their fire and keeps them interested, they still have those choices, plus they're able to work in collaboration by their senior year. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
I just make a comment that I think what we see more and more as we look out into the future at what really great work our kids are doing, especially towards the end of their career with us, something along the lines of a capstone project, something that really kind of takes what they've learned through their entire high school experience and tries to weave it together, is really adds value for students. So this is kind of a capstone project on steroids, right? Where I'm bringing kids across the various strands together to create a common project. And I think that's got tremendous potential to do a lot of what we hear, I think, and I'm sure folks at Business Careers hear from people in industry about the soft skill piece, about the working together, coming together with a team to problem solve, and those kinds of things that we hear, I think, a lot from employers that they really want to see in our kids.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Madam President. Anthony,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much for the presentation. I really appreciate this. It really gives us a good understanding of the program or what you're trying to do with this. One of the questions that I do have when you're talking about the entrepreneurship or the business management practicum, is there going to be an advisory board, or is there going to be some type of a governance body that would, and I'm saying from the different industries that we're looking at, will there be somebody kind of saying, hey, look, are you on the right path? Have you thought about this in the curriculum side? Does that
Yes.
make sense?
A couple of things that as we did this, there was a lot of things already in place at Business Careers, so it's
okay.
not a whole lot of changes in the behaviors that we will continue. And that one thing is that the corporate board will still exist, the mentor program will still exist. So in fact, I think that's what makes our program even more robust than what many of the other programs around the nation have, because of that mentorship and that corporate board. Our goal is that these kiddos have an opportunity to engage in deep conversations and actually grow in the industry themselves. Each year, there are certifications attached to the course of studies that they're capable of taking. So, for example, just really quickly, the freshman year, they actually are going to take a soft skills certification. And so that's one of those things that kids are needing to have more often when they're going into community or working and having a job, is the soft skills. It's a new certification, but it is one. They'll have the Microsoft Office certifications, the Adobe certifications. There's an entrepreneur certification. So each year, we actually attach a certification so kids have access to those opportunities. So if they choose not to go to college, they choose not to open a business, whatever they decide, we're not closing any doors, because I just don't like glass ceilings on any child's life.
Yeah. Okay. No, and the only reason why I ask, because I know that there are other, like UTSA does offer a support system there with their small business, especially within the, marketing as far as who to market to and how to market, and then there are governing bodies, or there are boards that have what they call ex-executives that help you review your plan and things like that. So that's the only reason why I was asking
No,
if
it's a
we're
great
doing
point.
that as ready, as an offering, or as a way of bringing these business plans that these kids create to those former executives that understand business. So that's the only reason why I was asking. But thank you very much for answering my question. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Mr. Blunt?
Yeah, I was just going to add, two of these programs of studies will really further put business career on the map. The cybersecurity, I think you all know I work in that area. That is huge within San Antonio right now. A lot of businesses, a lot of universities, not just UTSA, several of the universities and others are really rallying behind San Antonio, making a big push in this area because of all the job markets, job availabilities that are going to come in the future for San Antonio area. And same thing with computer programming. So we can really go far with this. So it's really good to see business careers step off with this one.
We recently received a grant in partnership with UTSA. I want to say $5 million over a 5-year span with cybersecurity, where our teachers are actually writing curriculum because there really isn't a strong curriculum nationally. And so UTSA kind of taking the lead with this, and our teachers are active participants in it and working on their master's degree in cybersecurity as well.
Good, thank you.
Dr. Harrell?
Thank you. When Anthony presented at academics, the courses that he was sharing are not ones that we created or the district created. They've been created, they have standards, and so they've been approved by the Texas Education Agency. But the way that this committee, with his leadership, has put it in these kind of bundles is very appealing to me. If I was back being 16 years old, again, very attractive, very very needed in this the world today. And I just wanted to piggyback on what Dr. Woods said. So many of the jobs that our students will have haven't even been created yet. So we're always trying to play catch up, but also be responsive to the world around us. And I really think this is one way to be responsive while still fostering those things that have been timeless, like working in a group, like standing and delivering, like entrepreneurship, coming together to create something and market it. And it's been discouraging to hear businesses like Amazon say, we don't have a market of future employees in San Antonio, so we're going to go to Austin, or we're going to go, and we know we do. So some of it is we have to get the word out, but some of it we need to really refresh, and I like that word, refresh, some of our ways that we deliver our courses. And so the state has recognized that, and here are the courses, but it's done in a way I think that would be very attractive to students, and at the same time, just be something that, like Bobby said, put us on the map, be a pinnacle school. So, and our other school within schools, or our other magnet schools, very much are like that. They're very one of a kind because Northside has really looked at it through the lens of several groups of stakeholders, but also the eyes of kids. So thank you.
Ms. Reed?
Thank you. Since I was around when we opened up business careers and set it up, I'm curious to know whether the chamber is still involved with us and whether they still send mentors and lecturers and all that kind of stuff, which is what they did to begin with. And I do not know whether there's still that connection.
You're talking about the Chamber of Commerce proper?
Uh-huh.
Nothing in place formally, but our mentor program is actually the largest it's ever been. We reached over 150 pairs of students and mentors last year. Ms. Chumley and Dr. Harrell were part of the program, and we were at capacity.
Good.
Every single day that we offered it.
Great.
We didn't know what our limit was, but we found out.
Good. Well, I just wanted to make sure that there was still some connection there going on with the business community coming in and seeing what we're doing and they benefit from us and we benefit from them, so.
And if I can add one, one last caveat to that is that when the kiddos get to that senior year and they open their business, and that's what they would be doing, is actually somebody from industry that has to interview the CFO of that business. So it may be 5 kids who interview, but one person is selected, and that person leads that whole entire team in that business model, so that way it can buy and sell, because everything is done virtually, so there is not an exchange of money per se, but there is a business. So just example, the one young man when we saw in Dallas, his business was Uber Jet, and so he started a business where private jets through Uber, so you can basically Uber a jet. And so so that being said, I thought it was pretty innovative, because when he did his marketing campaign, he had to reach out to a wealthy person that allowed him to get on his private jet to do his film to sell his Uber jet product. So we have very, very smart kids in Northside, and one of the things that this will allow is for kids to be problem solvers and thinkers beyond what we are even capable of knowing, because a young mind is a curious mind, and there's so much potential to be released, and we just need to give them the freedom to do so.
Thank you.
Dr. Harrell?
Oh, no.
Ms. Freeman?
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony, and I appreciate the work that y'all have done regarding this and developing this, these programs of study. Can you tell me, what do you foresee as the capacity that this program might have? Currently, Business Careers has what percentage of the, 25% of the students at homes? Is it more than that?
Yeah, it ranges between 25 to 40% is about what you would have at that particular program.
Is this, do you foresee this to be the same percentage?
Yes. But yeah, this is not to isolate and exclude the homes kids. This is an inclusive process. The other piece of it is we want the business careers kiddos to be in core classes with the homes kids. We want to allow all kids to be exposed to this higher level of thinking, and so it's not an isolation of any getting other kids in there and not homes kids.
And assuming you're on track, if you will, I mean, what would be the, certainly we're not doing this right now. Tell me,
You've got 9th graders now. The 2 courses involved in the 9th grade are very common courses for 9th graders. If that helps your question about timeline.
okay, so then we would continue to progress.
So next year you'll have the virtual business and social media marketing in place?
That could be in place. So the PIT and the Principles of Business Marketing Finance currently exists. The only change there is that we have it across all strands, and the soft skill certification is attached to the 9th grade year. And so we want those kids to have that because that's transferable. Many industry folks have said that's pretty important these days.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've got some questions.
Sure.
Okay, so Anthony, who made up your advisory committee?
It was actually Randy had some folks get in there. We had teachers that were on there. We asked
BC teachers? Okay.
Yes. The advisory board for BC, some of those folks that's in industry, they participated. CTE participated. A couple of students participated. Who else? A couple of parents were on that. So it was a BC, and so the students were BC as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I'm glad you had that cross-section
Yeah, absolutely.
of it. Okay, so how many teachers were on that committee? 3 or 4. And how many BC teachers do you have total? 11. And have we talked to the teachers about what this is looking like? All 11?
As much as we can without formal approval, yes, but we've been addressing the need for refreshing our curriculum, yes. But until we gain formal approval for stuff, it's hard to seek out specific resources for those classes.
And do we know how this is going to impact the teachers that are BC teachers right now? Are there going to be different certifications that they're going to have to, like, you talk about a course in entrepreneurship, what certification, what type of background, what does a teacher have that teaches that, Anthony?
Yeah, so most of the CTE teachers come with a tech app certification or an industry certification that teaches marketing and all of those courses inclusive. We're really going to be wanting folks that have that industry experience. However, this is not a way for us to, I guess, get rid of teachers, and that's one of the reasons why also those other courses will still exist through the elective lens as well. The computer program, cybersecurity, all of those teachers would stay because those programs haven't changed any.
Right, they're there, but I'm talking about the business classes.
The same certifications that they have. So really what we would be wanting is to have some conversations with them about their practices and their development and their skills, whether it's through externships or whatever the case is.
So you don't anticipate displacing any teachers with this change?
No, I mean, I don't see that. I don't know the talent pool, to be quite honest with you, exactly what the skill sets they have.
Well, let me ask
That'll
Mr.
probably be
Neuenfeld.
better.
Do you foresee displacing any teachers with this change?
No, that shouldn't be a necessity.
Okay. So cybersecurity, because I agree, Bobby, cybersecurity is off and running. But is it only available to students in business careers?
It is right now. Most of the kids is cybersecurity mostly business careers kids?
Yes.
Yeah, so, but at that,
I think you're asking about compared to other schools.
Well, just across the board. So is cybersecurity only available at homes through BC, but do we have cybersecurity classes? So they'll be the same type of classes, but we have them taught Marshall or
Yes.
Brennan or Brandeis.
we have it
or,
at 4 high schools, Harlan, Warren, and Taft, I believe, as well as BC. We have cybersecurity.
Okay. And then so, Anthony, what if I'm a kid who is interested in business, but I'm not interested in starting my own business, and I don't want to do a capstone project?
So
what do you do with me?
if they want an internship at that senior year, we want them to either be exposed in the industry or participate in this virtual experience. If kids are going to select to go to Business Careers High School and be part of a magnet school, that's saying this is something that lights their fire and their interest. And so we do have it set up where they have the option. If they can find an internship that's outside of that, we would allow them to do that because it still allows them to be exposed to the business that they're interested in. If not, we want them in school so that way they can actually be exposed to the area of interest. So when they get to the capstone project, one of those kids will be the HR director. So if that's their interest, they're going to be the person that whole entire team turns to when they have a question about HR. If their interest is marketing, then that's going to be their focus as part of that team. So when they get together, it's a business model. It's not an isolated, you're over here because this is the accounting group, or you're over here because you're the marketing group. You have a team member whose focus is in that area.
Okay, so walk me through it. You can tell I'm all on board on us getting rebranding for what kids need. You got a lot of old school in me though too, Anthony, so I need a little bit more explanation on some of this. So how many schools are doing the VEI? So you're talking about Dallas.
One school in Dallas right now is participating in VEI. Most of it is
So
probably
we have one school in Texas
right now.
Okay, so is VEI, because you're talking about national and international fairs, is it an organization? Is it a vendor?
It's a curriculum.
Who has this? And so how many other schools nationally use this vendor?
I don't know the exact number of schools, but is relatively popular. Is many schools in New York, and so these competitions range between 300 to 1,000 kids that are participating in these competitions. So it's not a small scale organization. This particular school in Dallas is a magnet school similar to Business Careers, and it was built as such. And so they were the one school who were competing in these national conferences, and that's how we kind of got noticed because of visioning. So to answer your question about how many, I don't know the exact number of schools participating.
But you've done all of your research on who these people are, what they represent, all of that.
Absolutely.
You know what Northside's expectation and culture is. And so you feel really confident. I mean, one school in Texas, Anthony, gives me a little pause, but I also trust you very much.
Yeah. So two things. One, I would not set kids up for failure. And by the time we get to that capstone project, of course, it would require us to have some type of MOU to make sure our kids are protected. That's not something that I would even take a chance with. But this particular school that was built around this whole business model is basically we're using it as a capsule for the kids to host their businesses. That's really the thing that they're supplying for us, so that we don't want exchange of money, we don't exchange of resources. So when these kids buy and trade, they're buying and trading with other schools all around the nation. So if I have a coffee business and you have a Uber Jet, I may sell Uber Jet the coffee, and Uber Jet may give me a discount on access to their product. So these kids are learning how to barter as well as buy, trade, and sell their products. If their business model fails, then they have to make the adjustment based on their projections on what they need to do differently going forward in their business model. So all of that happens in this capsule, which doesn't require us to be in a paper pencil world trying to track all of this, and so that keeps everything there. I can definitely share with you the website where it shows the kids talking about their business. They have their business plans posted on the website, so you can see exactly the details of their business models that they put together. They do projections based on industry standards. It's not a program that's just piecemeal by some mom and pop shop that's going to disappear tomorrow.
I just want to make sure that we've got the guidelines in place, the structure in
Yes,
place
for
to
sure.
protect our students, though, too, Anthony, with as much as that happens, and the predators that are out there. I just want to
I
make sure
agree.
that
Yes.
that we're really secure on having our kids involved in something like that.
Plenty of time to iron out details.
So what happens so this is just incoming freshmen, and so what happens to the students that, I'm a junior in BC right now?
They would stay with their program.
They just finish out, so we'll just slowly move the curriculum out that is in place as the kids finish up,
The cohorts.
Right.
as the cohorts advance. So do we, and we don't have much movement within business careers, right?
No.
Well, we have some at business careers that have come in and out, but
Yeah, we don't have as much movement in our magnet schools just because they get connected so early. But again, like I say, this is a slow roll that we're talking about. Senior year is when this happens. So by the time we get to this place, we're 2-3 years in far as that product to actually roll out to the campus.
it reminds me of the ISM.
That
and-
is a
and-
probably good analogy.
And, but focus specifically on business careers and a team. I mean, it just kind of has the same feel, though, where we have kids that have really specialized in something and had mentors and internships and all the rest.
I made the same comment,
On it.
but I'll say an advantage over ISM is the requirement that I'm working with other peers as well as adult mentors. That's a step up potentially on
I really
ISM.
like that, because I'm just going to throw this out real quick. So one of my roles in my job where I actually get paid is that I deal with lots of millennials. And I love millennials. They're great, but it is a very different group to work with. They have a lot of different ideas about their abilities and being CEO tomorrow. And so I think this piece of it, where they really have to work together and each share and be responsible for the different pieces, and how that really, there's a lot of give and take on that. I think that is really exciting and
The teachers are the
interesting.
facilitators that senior year too. So they're just kind of as a hub of support for making sure the business are successful.
And then is there anything that from a grade point piece, from a grading perspective, anything, I mean, what if their business fails? So how are you graded? How do you pass?
Transform your business. They have to make the adjustments, or they have to be able to defend, this is what happened to my business, and they have to get up in front of people and say, I didn't pay attention to this. If you see the kids in action, it'll make even more sense, because they take their work very serious, and they don't say, I'm the CFO, so I'm going to ask a I'm going to turn to my marketing rep and I'm going to say, tell me where we're at on this marketing campaign. And that child gets up there and talks to the whole group. And so that group is facilitated in a way that everybody has ownership of the product.
And if they just really don't want to do that, then they can go out and get an internship with the company or in the field that they are interested in doing.
We're not going to pigeonhole kids, and that was one of the things we talked about. And they don't do that at the other program, but I think choice allows kids to get into a place where they're going to be successful. And so, like I said, it was a year-long research, if you will. And so I think as we go through this, we're going to have bumps in the road. We're going to have lessons learned. But I feel like the kids are going to have greater ownership, and we're going to have kids being more in the area of thinking and problem solving.
And then one last thing, what are you going to use to evaluate it, and how long a period of time will you be looking at that? So how will you know, Anthony, that this is successful? Just we keep our numbers up. Kids don't want to do this, so our numbers drop. I mean, how long a period of time, and what is your evaluation?
Of the kids, you're talking about of the program working
I'm talking
at the
about
school?
the program working and being successful and truly being innovative to the perspective of what we're talking about that keeps kids enrolled in BC.
So I think all programs have to evaluate it annually. You know, if you want a program to be successful and have long-term success, you have to evaluate it annually and make the right adjustments yearly. So I don't think we say this program is in place and then we walk away and say it needs to stay that way. I think we're constantly should be evaluating how do we make it better, what tweaks do we make. And so we're here today, we may come back and say, you know what, here's a misstep and this is what we have to add or delete. And so Randy and his team is going to have to be astute about where the program is when they walked in the door and then where it is annually, and have a report out on it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Very encouraged by it. Dr. Harrell?
I had just one real quick question. And I love the BEI webpage and the school you wish you had when you were in high school. Some of the one-liners they have there. But I did have a question. So because cybersecurity can go so many different ways, and some of it is not the business way. Right. Just to be clear, VEI, I mean, it's flexible enough that if I want to do, again, I don't know that I can do a team project because, I remember going on a tour last year at the rack space, and there's not a lot of collaboration going on with cybersecurity in this one aspect of it. But so they were telling us all about cybersecurity and all the different areas, and some of it, from what I learned just that day, seemed to not have a business model to it. Right. You're part of a business, you're part of Rackspace, or you're part of any larger corporation or business. But long story short, I could still excel by doing some sort of huge cybersecurity project or internship that could inform a capstone project or...
Absolutely. If I was to break the week down to you, Monday when you walk in, your company meets. Your CFO gives you directions on the work that needs to be completed by the end of the week. The technology department, they're going to go off for the rest of the week and they're going to work on technology. The marketing department's going to go off and they're going to work in marketing for the rest of the week. So they're not just sitting there in groups just talking all the time. They actually have to focus on their craft or their area. So if cybersecurity is their place, they're really just dealing with technology for the most part, and they're the experts of that particular strand.
Okay, even if it's not, well, it still would have to have a business umbrella, the way I'm hearing it from you. So if I wanted to do something with armed forces or the naval cybersecurity or something like that, I would know about it, but I wouldn't be able to do it within this model?
No. They still are exposed to the cybersecurity, so they will still go to cybersecurity class and they'll still be learning about cybersecurity. What their role in that business model may be protecting the company from anybody breaking in and stealing information and selling it on the black market.
Gotcha.
So the kids are active participants, but their roles may be different based on the need of that business.
The business is still the umbrella.
Yes, it's just the container for the work that happens, and then there's an end product that everybody can speak on that they can be proud of. This is what our business is. And then, if the business is successful, what they've done, they give it to the junior class. And so that junior class can either abandon the current business and reframe it, or they can adopt it and make it better. And so it's pretty fluid and flexible to allow kids to take more ownership, or however it works.
And I can still get an A even though my business fails, because a lot of great businesses failed 100 times before they ever became. So my grade.
Yeah, there's a rubric that's built
Okay.
into the whole system, and failure is the opportunity for success. And so-
Exactly. So I think that'd be a great opportunity to fail. Hate to say it that way. I don't mean it in a bad way.
Oh, failing forward.
But failing
Virtually.
forward. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I think there's going to be some great
Love it.
things that come out of it. Mr. Blunt.
Sorry, real quick comment. You probably gave cybersecurity as an example, but we'll tell you, San Antonio is probably the best city to be in, to be able to build upon a business model and entrepreneur more than any other city when it comes to that particular area. So that's why I'm fascinated by it. I looked at the website too. They say they have 500 participating high schools and colleges across the country. So whether that's accurate or not, I don't know. I just wanted to throw
We'll
that
be
out.
the
Help you
next
out a
one
little
in
bit.
Texas.
Yeah.
They don't have any technology, sorry.
Anthony, thank you very much. Do any trustees have any other questions? This is for discussion only.
Okay, thank you.
You did
I
a wonderful
appreciate it.
job.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
Resolved all of my concerns. So I appreciate it. All right, next item of business on the agenda is business and finance. And before we begin, Mr. Rastellini, I wanted to tell you that I truly, truly enjoyed your picture at Convocation.
I did not.
6 times.
All right, so next is the 2017-18 amended budget.
Thank you, Ms. Chumley. This evening, I did prepare a presentation to go through items A through F, since they are connected. As Dr. Woods alluded to, this is actually the culmination of a long process, and I know the board members have put in a lot of time discussing these issues. So we did pull together a little presentation that should just walk us through these particular items.
Okay, and David, just to let you know that we need to vote on each one.
Right.
So
right.
when you get to the point where we're finished with the amended budget, we need to vote and then move to the next.
Right. I will stop at each time and make the recommendation, and
Okay.
then we'll move through that. So the first item that we have is the amended budget for 2017-18, item A. Typically in Budget Amendment 3, we do have some specific line item adjustments that we do make to the budget, but for the most part, overall adjustments are to actually to align our budget with fund function expenditures, which is required by TEA. The 17-18 budget certainly follows in that vein. Also, just to remind you that when we do make adjustments to the budget, these are adjustments to the base budget typically, so they do align with the budget in future years. We did go through the detail of the adjustments for Budget Amendment 3 with the Finance Committee, and that actually meeting was last week that we did that. The highlights of the amended budget for 17-18, we actually are seeing an appropriation decrease of about $7.8 million. Most of that amount is due to aligning the district's payroll budget, the budget with the actual expenditures that we anticipate moving through this year and years forward. That adjustment was actually about $12 million. The rest of the what brings that decrease back up is the addition of some items as it relates to TRS on behalf payments. What on behalf payments are, quite frankly, is an accounting entry where we show revenues equal to expenditures, and it's basically to report what is the state pays on our behalf. With those adjustments and reducing the appropriations down about $7.8 million, that'll bring our total estimated expenditures to about $920.9 million for this amended budget. On the revenue side, we're actually increasing revenues about $12 million. The good news there, most of those are recurring revenues. Specifically, we're looking at an adjustment in our investment revenues of close to $10 million, so we see that moving through the budget in future years. With those adjustments, the estimated revenues on the amended budget is about $917.6 million. The other two budgets, you're ahead of me. The other two budgets that form the official budget, which is what the board actually has to take action on, is the child nutrition budget and the debt service budget. Child nutrition budget, we did have some adjustments on the expenditure sides where we reduced the budget about $1.8 million. Keep in mind that particular budget is actually balanced, so we have a corresponding decrease in revenues, but this is a budgetary basis, so we're actually making a little money in our child nutrition at the end of the day. The debt service has significant adjustments. In this particular Budget Amendment 3, we actually will show the results of any refunding transactions that we do during the year, so we actually are increasing the budget in the debt service by about $278 million. Keep in mind, we do have a corresponding offset with transactions as well. What the budget looks like after these adjustments, the official budget, the general revenue, and this is the expenditure side of the budget, again is about $921 million, and you'll see the child nutrition at about $55 million, and the debt service fund just roughly $445 million. Keep in mind that's a big adjustment because of the 278. That gives us an official budget that we're asking the board to consider at $1.4 billion. And the other two, special revenue funds and capital project funds, those are listed there for your information. And we talk about our all funds budget with the amendment for 2017-18, that's about $1.6 billion. With that, at this time, the administration would recommend the board consider approval of the 2017-18 amended budget.
All right, Mr. Lopez, do you have anything from the Finance Committee?
Yes, Madam President. The items were presented and discussed in the Finance Committee on the 21st. And so unless any other board members have any comments or would like to add anything to this, I move that we approve the 2017-18 final amended budget.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the 2017-2018 amended budget. Is there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item of business, commitment of fund balance resolution.
Item B, the commitment of fund balance. The board may recall we do bring a resolution for consideration each August along with the amended budget and the proposed budget for the next year. The commitment of fund balance, actually what we've done is ask the board to consider committing certain dollar amounts that the board sets for new schools as a result of any of our bond authorizations. We also have a requested commitment for technology deployments, and then the commitment for the future state aid deficits, which is basically our fallback amount, if you will. You might recall seeing that amount in the model. Also in the resolution, the board is actually given the deputy superintendent, myself, the authorization to deal with administrative assignments. These are going to be items such as our roofing projects. There's a list of those particular assignments, but that's probably the big one that we have right now. Also, there's assignments for future employee benefits and things of that nature.
David, what exactly do you mean by that? We give you the authority to,
Actually, the reason why we do it is those numbers actually change from tonight for August 31. So you give me the ability to make those assignments in our fund balance for those designated purposes. Whereas commitments, you actually not only have the particular purpose of those funds, but also the particular amounts. Those do not change. You actually have to set those amounts on an annual basis.
and then when you've made changes, when you, like that, then that's, comes to us back. I mean, we're notified of it in the next budget amendment.
You'll actually see those in budget amendments, those kinds of changes, and then obviously we bring the commitment resolution annually, and probably the best place to see it is how it affects and moves through our forecasting model.
And if we were to need to change these amounts, do you have to come back for the board for approval to change it since we've allocated these funds specific to these purposes?
Not up, but certainly to use those funds for other purposes, yes, I would have to bring another resolution to the board. That's why annually,
We do this commitment, but if the middle of the year you found that there was something, then we needed to take the future state revenue deficits, we needed to
exactly.
move some of that would have to come
Yeah,
back and
I
have board
can't use,
approval.
I can't use those dollars for any
Anything
other
else without
purpose.
board.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, very good. The 2018-19 amounts from the committed fund balance are actually included in the 18-19 budget. We'll see those here in a second. Again, this was an item that we did bring to the Finance Committee last week, and I do want to talk about the highlights of the changes that we're recommending in the resolution. The new school commitment, which has a set amount, we're actually recommending that we increase that by $22.9 million, and that is to address the schools that are outlined in the 2018 bond authorization. Keep in mind, as we spin those off through the year, the amount that's shown on the district's financial statements is actually the balance. So if we spend any of this money, it'll be the 22.9 less whatever we spent. And you see that in the technology deployments as well. The only amount that will not change from the resolution will be the amount that's designated for the state revenue deficits. In 2018, we're also recommending a refresh of our technology deployment of an additional $25 million. So the actual amount in the resolution is almost $37 million. What that's comprised of is the $25 million plus the balance of the 2013 commitment for those purposes. And then, as I said, the state revenue deficits, that amount will not move until next year's resolution, and that's set at just a little over $130 million. The amounts that we're refreshing in the assignment section of our fund balance is to put in $2.5 million back in employee benefits. That's a spend out through the years. That 2.5 is an amount equivalent to last year's dedication. And then the other one that we're adding to the administrative projects, the almost $8 million, is actually the result of the 2018 when the board considered calling the authorization for the bond referendum. We made a commitment at that particular time to put in some of the projects that amounted to $8 million to be paid out of the general fund. With that, Madam President, the administration would recommend approval of the fund balance resolution as presented.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Madam President. As we discussed in the Finance Committee on the 21st, unless any other members have any questions, I move for the approval of the commitment of fund balance resolution.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the fund balance resolution. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item, the adoption of the 2018-19 budget.
This is the last budget item that we're bringing this evening, and obviously the proposed budget for 18-19. This is what's encompassed in item number C. You may recall that we did have public hearing last week as required by Truth and Taxation, where not only we discussed the proposed budget, this particular item, but also the tax rate that we'll see later on that will support that budget. Just as a reminder, the revenues were based on projected enrollments that we received from our resource department, and also estimated values at August 31, 2019. The reason why I say August 31, 2019, you'll see in the next item about with the certified values, that amount will actually move, but it also changes our tax levy. So we actually estimate what that's going to look like at the end of the year so we can budget the appropriate amount for the tax revenues. Expenditures are based on base budget, which moves forward from year to year, plus the consideration of the 18-19 compensation plan, the 18-19 growth and improvement that we brought to the board in June, and also it does take into consideration the renewal of our health insurance. Again, this item was discussed in detail last week at the Finance Committee. The highlights of the 18-19 budget, you'll see that our general fund revenues are being budgeted at $883.5 million. Actually, the split of those dollars specifically are coming from about 65% from local resource, and that's basically your property taxes, and 31% is being funded by state resource. And you know that number spreads. The local gets bigger and bigger each year. Now, the other thing to note, although it's 31%, from state sources, if you take out the on behalf payments, which is basically an accounting entry, that 31% will actually drop down to 26%. So, and that's probably a number you've seen in some of our discussions. The general fund expenditures are budgeted at $912.3 million. The sweep in that particular model is at 22.7. Keep in mind that's basically a formula-driven number at this particular time, and that's driven off of the base budget for the most part. That will actually create about a $6 million budget deficit. That's funded with the next three bullets there. The majority of that funding is about close to $20 million, and these are coming out of those committed fund balances and those assigned fund balances. And when you do that, that actually will give you the ability to increase the state aid deficit reserve almost $10 million. And also the unassigned fund balance will actually increase about $4 million. So it's a typical budget that we see when we consider adoption. The next slide, this is actually the expenditure budget and where these numbers or the $912 million come from. Base budget carry forward is about $867 million. Compensation and benefits that we looked at and approved earlier in June is close to $20 million. The new schools and other growth and improvement, both of those items are actually the growth and improvement totals that we also considered in June. And then you see the technology deployments and the administrative projects. These are the actual spending budgets that we have for the coming out of the assigned fund balance for those particular items. Well, the technology deployment is actually committed. So for the expenditure budget in the general fund, again, it's $912 million. I took that number and actually created a pie graph just to show you where these dollars go on a percentage basis. Bring your attention to that light blue pie, the big piece of the pie. That's about 64%, and that's actually our direct instructional cost in our budget go to direct instructional costs. Now, when you take the light gray and the orange and the light blue, those are going to be instructional related. Student support services covers a lot of different things. It covers our counseling, covers nursing, transportation, co-curricular, things of that nature. The total portion of our budget with that light gray, orange, and blue is about a little over 84% of our budget is going to direct instruction and instructional related, which brings us to the 15.7%, or the dark blue that's cited by the green and the yellow. That's going to be our administrative support and other costs. And also the district support services, which is basically our facility, our plant and facility. So our budget is spread in the right places. That's the point there. On the next slide, again, the official budget. This is what the board is considering. Is comprised of the general fund, child nutrition services, and debt service fund. Those three items is totaling about $1.1 billion. And then we also, again, will show you the special revenue funds and the capital project funds, again, as point of reference. So we have a all funds budget of about 1.4. I will point out on the capital project fund, that amount, when we do the proposed budget, is equal to the anticipated new money issues, and that's a combination of the final 2014 authorization of $100 million and the first sale of the 2018 authorization at 84.855. With that, Ms. Chumley, the administration recommends the approval of the proposed 18-19 budget as presented.
Mr. Lopez.
Keep forgetting
No,
to push
you're
that
good.
button.
You're good.
Madam President, again, as discussed in the Finance Committee meeting on the 21st, unless any other board members have any questions about the budget, I move that we approve the 2018 proposed budget.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve or adopt the 2018-19 budget. Ms. Freeman.
I just have a comment. Mr. Rastolini, you went through that in maybe 3 minutes, or I don't know, or 5 minutes, or whatever it was. But we've been talking about this since January. And just for those of you all out there, and for anybody who happens to be watching this meeting on some kind of live stream or whatever, this wasn't just something that we've seen for the first time. So I just wanted to make mention of that. This has been a work in progress for a very long time. January,
a lot
November.
of work. January, we'll actually start, yeah.
Yep. Okay. That was just my comment.
Thank you for pointing that out, because that is true. There's not a lot of questions, but that was a great comment, because it has been a long time coming. I think we have September, October off, and then you guys start again November,
Well,
December.
We got some cleanup stuff coming. We'll have some tax rolls and all those things. We've started again. It's just job security.
Well, you do an excellent job of it. So are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. The next item of business on the agenda is the certified appraisal rolls for
Yes.
NS.
The next three items that we have actually are dealing with the tax rate part of the 18-19 budget and tax rate. And we will act on these individually as we did with the budget items. The first item that we have is the certified values, the 2018 certified values. These values actually come from the chief appraisers of the counties that the district resides in, which is Bear, Bandera, and Medina counties. These are critical in the calculation of the calculation of our tax rate under truth and taxation. And again, this was an item that we discussed in some detail at the Finance Committee. The next slide it may be a little hard to read up on the screen, but this is just a summary of the three county values. I will tell you the Bexar County, which generates taxable values after freeze, all that means is we take the taxable values that have been approved, and then we add the taxable values that are still under review, because even at certification, those numbers don't tie out. Again, that's another reason why we estimate what it's going to look like at 2019. And then we back out the values associated with properties that have freeze values, because obviously they don't generate the same tax. So we back those out to get taxable values after freeze. With Bear, that 50 almost 51 billion is actually 99.8% of our taxable values. Medina comes in at a distant second, and Bandera is a faraway third. But nonetheless, that totals up to about $51.1 billion, which is really breaks down to about a $3.6 billion increase from the year before. So we feel a pretty healthy increase in our values, and that's about a 6.4% growth. The one thing that has changed, and it's kind of drifted the wrong way, if you will, is our residential is a little over 65%, and that percentage actually increased this year. So again, we're kind of losing on some commercial values, and certainly commercial values is what you want to get into a healthy tax base. But in any event, at this particular time, it's appropriate that the board consider approving the values as certified by the chief appraisers.
Mr. Lopez.
Again, Madam President, this was all discussed in the Finance Committee meeting on the 21st. Unless any other members have any questions, I move that we, for approval of the 2018 appraisal rolls for Northside Independent School District.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the tax rate as certified for the 2018 year for NISD. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. The next slide, go ahead. You're good.
I tell you.
No, you're good.
The next item that we have on the agenda is the approval of the effective tax rate and the rollback tax rates. Once the values have been certified by the chief of appraisers, they forward those to the tax assessor collector, who calculates these particular rates. These rates are used in truth and taxation. It should be, it's important to note that the effective tax rate is a point of reference for school districts more so than anything else, and actually the rollback rate becomes the critical rate as far as when the district actually will set its tax rate. Again, we did discuss this in some detail at the Finance Committee meeting that we had last week. So if we go to the next slide, this is just a summary of those rates that the tax assessor computes, and then the board will consider for approval. The first rate is pretty much a no-brainer. It's last year's rate, which means our current rate, which is, you'll see the breakdown between the maintenance and operations and the debt service, or INS. Total $1.37.55 pennies per $100 valuation. The effective rate is not broken out in that detail. However, it is actually what it represents is the rate that would generate the same taxes for similar properties. So obviously, if our values go up, you're going to see that rate come down, which actually, that's what you see here. That's why that's at $1.35. 2921, again, it's not used for any purposes as far as school districts in their truth and taxation. The rollback rate, however, is. So this is the rate that the district cannot exceed when it sets its tax rate. And the way it's developed is the M&O rate is very simple. It's our compressed rate, which is $1 plus 4 cents. It has not changed. It's really nothing magical to that particular rate. The debt service or INS rate, actually, once we get those certified values, we will apply that to the dollars that it takes to retire next year's debt service payments, principal and interest and any fees. The tax rate it would we would need to set to do that is 33.9342, which is actually a little higher than what our current rate is. And it's also higher than what our proposed rate is. And you'll see that in the next presentation. So at this time, the administration would recommend that the board approve the tax rates, the effective tax rate and the rollback tax rate as presented.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez, I know that this requires specific language.
It's the next one.
It's the next one, yeah. F, it's F.
It's F. That requires it. Okay.
So, Madam President, as discussed in the committee meeting on the 21st, unless anybody else has any other questions about the effective tax rate, I move that we approve the 2018 effective tax rate and 2018 rollback tax rate for Northside Independent School District.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the tax rate and rollback tax rate for the year 2018 for Northside School District. Does anyone have any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries.
The next item that we have,
Sorry, I
item
was going
F,
ahead of
is the actual ordinance for fixing and levying the taxes. Again, this was part of the public hearing that we had last week when we discussed the budget and the tax rate. Under truth and taxation, before you can consider this particular item, you must have adopted a budget, which we did almost 10 minutes ago. So we're good. We're good to go there. Also, as I just mentioned, we cannot exceed the rollback rate of $1.379342. The proposed rate that we have been actually was in our notice and in our public hearing is the same rate that we've had for the last 8 years. It's at $1.3755. We feel like we did not need to raise the INS to cover. We feel like we'll generate enough revenue and we have enough reserve to make up that difference. I will remind the board that this particular item does require certain language, and I have left a folder on the dais in case somebody other than Gerald wants to make the motion. But and also this item was discussed in detail at the last week's Finance Committee. In addition to the motion language, there are other pieces in the ordinance language that are required, and you'll see in Section 1, if you read that ordinance, you'll see the breakdown of the proposed rate of $1.3755 as it relates to maintenance and operations and also to debt service. Also in Section 2, and this particular item is actually it's put in bold and even the font is required in the language of truth and taxation. So you will see this statement in just about every school district tax ordinance. Tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operation than last year's tax rate. And the reason why I make that statement, you'll probably see this in everybody's ordinance, the way the the or the program works, as your values go up, the state pays less, so you got to make it up somewhere. And there you go. So with that, Madam President, the administration would recommend approval of an ordinance fixing and levying the taxes with the specific language, motion language as required.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Madam President, as discussed in the Finance Committee meeting on the 21st, I would like to make the following motion. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of $1.3755 on each $100 of taxable value of property, which is effectively a 1.67% increase in the tax rate, and that the order presented be finally passed and adopted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the ordinance as read. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. Mr. Rastellini, one more.
One more, and I do not have a presentation, so we're good to go. Typically, what we'll bring to the board in October are a series of parameter orders for our bond sales as it relates to our debt management planning. We can expect to see that again in October. However, on occasion, we do bring a parameter order to the board depending on events that may come up that we feel like we certainly need to have the flexibility to act on those particular situations. So the order you see this evening is actually a parameter order to address the 2009 series bonds that actually have a February call date. What that means is once you back up 90 days from the call date, we can actually close on that date, which means we potentially could have a fall transaction, which is pretty rare for the district. So with that in mind, I've asked our bond counsel to draft this parameter order that would allow the district to consider a potential refunding transaction sometime in the fall. Now, with all parameter orders, we list the amounts and the parameters that we put around the transaction, which keeps us from doing a transaction that's really not advantageous for the district. The parameters on this order, actually, it's on page 3 in your order. I wouldn't suggest going through that thing. It's about 70 pages long, but the principal amount of the 2009 series that are potentially eligible is $64.35 million, and that's par amount. The maximum maturity of the bonds pursuant to the order would not exceed August 31, 2039. Keep in mind, anytime we do refundings, we do not extend the maturity period, so we take advantage of savings only. True interest rate cannot exceed 6%. We haven't come close to that in quite some time. And then the present value savings would be at least 5%. The current indications on this particular refunding put this potential savings just a little over 14%. So it is something we feel is appropriate to look at in the fall. So with that, Madam President, I would recommend the board approve the parameter order as presented.
Mr. Lopez.
Madam President, again, this was discussed in in the 21st meeting, and I move that we approve the parameter. Do I have to be specific language?
No,
or just
as presented.
As presented by David.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the parameter bond order as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr.
I
Rastolini.
thank the board for their patience and attention on that long budget haul. Good job, Chairman Lopez. You did a great job. And thanks to my staff, they were outstanding.
Mr. Galindo, the first reading and adoption of legal policies, TASB localized update number 110.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Chumley, Dr. Woods, members of the board. This is the shortest update in my career. One policy, one page long, local policy. In your blue folders is a little summary sheet with the three that I bring to you, even though there's only one local. There's a couple of legals that I thought I'd bring to your attention. And really the local policy, and of course all of this was discussed in policy committee, comes as a result of a survey that was completed in the spring that really formalizes your election procedures, and we'll get to that in just a bit. So some general comments about the update itself, which primarily just deals, as I said, with board member elections. The legal policies really were just a reorganization of information involving procedures, ethics, vacancies, also information regarding board member eligibility, qualifications, and as I mentioned, elections, and even removal from office. So that's primarily what the legals concentrated on. So if you have the blue in the blue folder, the little summary sheet, I'll cover a couple quickly legals that I thought were worth bringing to your attention, and then of course the local as well. The first one is triple BBBA legal. Brought that to your attention because it is retitled. It was called Elections and Campaign Funds, now titled Conducting Elections. And there's 4 changes there, if you're following along, that are important for you to note. The first one is on page 3 of 8. It's an 8-pager. And that application, there's language now as a result of HB 2157 that requires an application for a place on the ballot to be signed and sworn to before a person in an authorized or authorized to administer oaths. So you'll see that again on page 3 of 8. Also, a little bit below on that same page, you'll see under special elections some detail regarding the information needed for filing information as far as any type of special election, and that comes as a result of, as you can see there, HB 2323. On page 4 of 8, on the next page, there's some language there that addresses procedures for canceling elections after the untimely withdrawal of a candidate. So that's also titled or subtitled Canceling Elections. Easy to follow there. And then the last change on that legal is on page 7 of 8, and it clarifies the definition of electioneering. And so those are the major changes for that one. Again, this is a legal. The next one also has been renamed, and that's quadruple BBBBB. Didn't really want to say that, but that used to be titled Ethics, and that piece is now moved to another policy. It's triple BD, but this one now retitled Post-Election Procedures, and several changes to bring to your attention there. As a result of HB 929, changes there now is that the earliest date election returns may be canvassed. It changes to the 3rd day after the election, and that's on page 2 of that policy. On page 3, the following page, there's a change there as a result of HB 101, requiring the presiding officer of the canvassing authority to note the completion of the canvass in the minutes or the recording required under the Open Meetings Acts. And then the last change of that one is on page 4. SB 5 now includes language that revise the retention period for the precinct elections from 6 months now to actually 22 months after the election date. The last policy is the local, and that one I do bring your attention to, and you'll see two of them. The changes that you see in blue in the first one are the revisions that reflect the survey that I mentioned. Information was provided by our district.
I'm sorry, Ray. Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yes, sir.
Do we need action on the legals? We do,
Yes,
right?
I was going to come back to those.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. No, that's fine.
It was so brief, and I apologize. Yeah, the local policy, have the revisions suggested by TASB on the first sheet there, and then if you scroll after policy committee, we wrote back to TASB and asked them to change the word board member to trustees. And so that is what you see, and we noted at the bottom with district changes is the last change that we have. So that, as you can see, very basic and straightforward. It includes, of course, the number of board members, method of election, the election date, which of course is in May, and then of course, according to your district number, you actually have the date of your election. It's had to be included there all the way through 2029. Of course, 4-year terms, and then the method of voting. And so that's the local, and that is a first reading. So then, all of that being said, if there are no questions,
Saying that.
we do need the adoption of the legals, and then this is the first reading for the local.
Okay. Ms. Freeman?
Yeah, I just have a question and a comment. Ray, this is just interesting. I don't even know if you know the answer to this question, but on BBBA legal, where it's HB reflects HB 2157, requires that an application for place on the ballot be signed and sworn to before a person authorized to administer oaths. Practically, what does that look like? Do we have any idea what
Who's
that would
authorized? It would be a,
administer an oath?
oh,
Sworn to before a person. So in other words, when if we are up for re-election, is that what that means? That we would have to sign for a place on the ballot before someone who is authorized to administer an oath?
which is a judge, a clerk, a notary is my understanding.
Oh, just a notary?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't mean just a notary, but
Municipal court, yeah, no, I understood.
but I was thinking we'd have to go to some court and.
The notary is fine, municipal court clerk, I believe, which is probably.
Judge
a notary as
Harrell or
well.
something.
Judge Harrell, yeah.
Why would you have to do that?
That's not a law, and I guess most of you are probably going to notary anyhow, no?
No, you don't have to.
No, you don't have to have a notary. Yes, yeah. My secretary.
Business office, she'll witness it. She'll
I
document.
don't remember us ever having to have that notarized on it.
I was just curious.
Legals.
Okay, but these are TASB's interpretation of what the law has changed.
Correct.
And my understanding that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to adopt everything.
Is correct.
We could put
Correct.
in relation to
Correct.
what their interpretation of it is. It's still just
Yes, that,
interpretation of it.
that's accurate.
So do we do this now? So as Katie's talking about, when we sign up to run, David, does your secretary, your admin, notarize these
Yes.
squares, and we just didn't know they were doing that?
Yeah, she notarized lots of stuff on it related to the election,
I
yeah.
just, had never realized that she did that.
Yes, yes.
I just wasn't aware of it.
And I just had one other comment, if I may. On local policy, it was brought to us in policy committee, and you see that TASB had changed our language from trustee to board member, and we said, no, let's leave it at trustee. And I just wanted, and that was just a recommendation from as we discussed in committee. Just a little bit of history at the TASB board level. This came up as discussion, and it seems as though TASB was going through some policies, and as we have had through the years, some of the words, the board member or trustee has been changed to board member, and there was just a question because we are referred to in the Texas Education Code, Chapter 11, as trustees. So it was just a matter of trustee essentially having more fiduciary responsibility like we do, as opposed to board members. And so that's why, as when we talked about it in our committee, we said, let's leave trustee. Just a bit of history.
No, I'm glad you did that.
Thank you.
All right, so we need to vote on item A under administration in relation to the adoption of the legal policy updates. Is there a motion come before the board? Joseph, did you have anything to share as
Yes,
the
well,
chairman of the
it was
policy
briefly
committee?
discussed on our last meeting, and I moved to motion to recognize the updates to legal, BBBA and BBBB.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, actually, I think there are other legals as well.
All the legals.
It's just update, it's just
110.
update 110.
Correct.
Legals and update 110.
It's summary of policy.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt legal policies and update 110. All those in favor, please signify by saying, oh, wait, Joseph, I'm sorry. Anything else?
No.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. We've already gone over the locals, so we are now to superintendent, the 2018-19 board superintendent goals. Dr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am. We bring tonight for your consideration the board superintendent goals for 2018-19. We've discussed this a couple of times more granularly at the beginning of last week in the kind of second iteration of the retreat. So at this time, we would recommend approval.
Ms. Reed.
I would recommend that we approve the board superintendent goals as presented.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the board superintendent goals for 2018-19. I want to thank all of the trustees for the work that we did during the board retreat. I think that we're getting better about what our goals look like and really more reasonable and doable. And I think, Dr. Woods, you agree
I definitely agree. Yes,
with
ma'am.
that? So is there any discussion, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next item of business on the agenda is the board operating procedures. I'd like to ask the board before we move into this, there were several changes that were made. Do trustees want to vote on each one individually, or are we comfortable with voting on them as a package, or is there any that any individual trustee would like to pull out separately? So the board's comfortable that we vote on it as a package? Yes. All right. Dr. Woods.
As you said, Ms. Chumley, we did make a couple of changes to the board operating procedures. We've tried to circulate those through just to make sure we captured correctly. I believe that we have. And after much discussion, we would recommend approval of the board operating procedure.
All right. Is there a motion come before the board?
I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Northside Board Operating Procedure changes as discussed at the board retreat and presented this evening. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. Dr. Woods, moving forward, School Priority Month.
Yes, ma'am. Every 2 years, every other year, the group called Make Education a Priority has sponsored a resolution of School Priority Month, which essentially encourages school districts to invite elected officials from all levels of government into their schools to show off the things that are going on in our schools, and to talk about the things that the school feels like they're doing really well and the things that they have challenges with. That practice is something that we support generally, not just every other year, but we would like to ask the board's consideration in this resolution, which would encourage us to do this kind of work specifically in the month of October of 2018.
Ms. Freeman.
Yeah, Dr. Woods, I do have a question. When we talk to schools about this, or when we, assuming that this is resolution is approved, do we talk to them about who those elected officials might be, like in even our local city governments? We have a lot of municipalities in our school district, and sometimes we forget about some of those who represent us in those smaller areas.
I think that's a good point. I think we've probably been biased towards state legislators in the past, but I think, well, and of course, city council folks who represent certain areas, but I think that that's a good suggestion, certainly one we could incorporate.
There's a lot, hello to Chevenet Park, Leon Valley,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beyond Springs.
I would like to just make one recommendation too, is that we use this as a real opportunity to market and highlight some of the things that we have in our schools that we tend to hear people talking about that we don't have. You know, a lot of the STEM programs, but I really think we could use this as a real time to be able to do that, to really highlight those specific kinds of programs, Brian, particularly in our middle schools.
Right, sure.
All right. Is there a motion to come before the board? Mr. Blunt?
Yeah, just one comment, then I'll make a motion also. And this is a very collaborative effort also with our philosophy of Go Public. So, we always try to make sure that we're unified and working together so it fits well within the scope. I'll go ahead.
Do we know, Bobby, are the other school districts looking to do the same thing?
I don't know
I
that.
thought about that. I'll find out. I thought about that when I was made
Something
that
that we
comment.
may want,
Yeah.
that
Yeah, we make it
you
unified.
certainly can encourage through
Oh, yeah.
the coalition.
Yeah, we'll do. Okay, but I'll go ahead and move approval of the resolution supporting School Priority Month as presented.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the School Priority Month resolution as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item of business is the board member attendance at the Council of Urban Boards of Education, NISD Advocacy Institute 2019 Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members Education Summit, and the MASBO Mexican American School Board Association Annual Conference. Dr. Woods, do you mind if I do this one?
No, not at all.
All right. Since we had talked about this at the board retreat, that these are not listed in our policy, but these are certainly ones that board members in the past have wanted to attend, and it's not specific to just one trustee. Any trustees have the ability to attend these, but we do have to approve that these events qualify for travel reimbursements for trustees. So that's why it needs to come before the board. Is there any discussion or questions? Is there a motion to come before the board? Dr. Harrell?
Real quick, there is a deadline on that TASB and the NSBA stipend, right, of like mid-September?
That's the next item.
Right, we're coming up on it. No, that's okay. No, we're coming up on it.
I just want to make sure that because I want to go to that. So the other part of the question is it only one person per?
Well, Carol, if we can, since we have a motion before the board, let's vote on this, and then the next item is actually what you're talking about.
Well, but let's say more than one person wanted to go to Q.
Oh, no, right, no,
Okay, so it's not, we're not voting for one person per
no,
one? Okay.
no, not at all. Carol, however many trustees want to go to any of these, we're just voting that these are recognized events, are conferences that the board recognizes the value to, and that we are approving for trustee reimbursement, travel reimbursement.
Perfect.
All right, I believe, Linda, I have a motion and a second? No. All right, can I have a motion I think we have a motion to do this.
I don't think so. I don't have it
No.
down.
All right, then, I need a motion to come before the board on
So
this
moved.
item. Dr. Harrell.
Oh,
So
sorry.
I move that we approve the board member attendance at CUBE, NSBA, the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members, Mexican American School Boards.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Ms. McGee, thank you as always for keeping us straight. Next item of business is the nomination for the NSBA Advocacy Institute stipend. Dr. Woods.
And I'll probably have Ms. Freeman help me with this. What TASB awards a stipend to, I think it's a trustee from each of the 36 congressional districts in the state. And so this would be, and I believe that we could nominate both a trustee and an alternate for this.
That is correct. With the so this is the second year that they've asked school boards for an alternate if they should so desire. The alternate would need to complete the nomination form as well, but this would allow, so for instance, in the past, if there was someone that was chosen, say from this particular board, to represent a specific congressional district, and that person could not go, and you can decline within a certain period of time before the event, that stipend was still available, and so TASB would then assign it to a given set of alternates, not necessarily from that specific congressional district or not necessarily from that specific board. So this would allow, say for instance, if Joseph were the primary and you were the alternate, if for some reason Joseph couldn't go with any for any reason, and NSBA would still allow the transfer of names, then TASB, assuming that you were both approved by the committee, then Carol, that you would go and use the stipend. This is truly just a stipend that I believe it's September 14th that the deadline is, so
That's correct.
it's relatively soon.
Right.
And though that, as you pointed out, Carol, before, just because one person is a stipend candidate, and if somebody from this board gets the stipend, that doesn't keep any of us, because we just approved prior, that we could still go. The stipend just does help. Thank you.
All right, so are there, yes, Mr. Blunt, I'm sorry.
And I think we talked about it before, but I just cannot remember the answer. Can we clarify? Because we have multiple congressional districts. So we, I know TASB may want one thing, but we can actually submit for multiple, right? Not
So I
do the
have,
alternate route.
I have in the past, and they've used my address in the past, but that just happened to be one area that they didn't have representation from.
Okay.
So, yes, in answer to your question, on the form, it's very difficult they ask you one congressional district, but you can put in a note that our district represents.
Is it 2 or 3?
3.
3, right? So
think
we
it's
could
3.
put in everybody but one trustee. 3 times 2.
in that district.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
No, actually, though, only one person from any given board would be allowed to receive the stipend.
Oh, I understand. Oh, they do say by board. See, I thought it was by district. I didn't know they said by board. I don't remember that.
There would be one, I'm sorry,
Congressional district.
one person per each congressional district, with the caveat that only one person from a board would receive that stipend.
Okay. Okay. But we can put 6 names in. Okay. All right.
So what I would like to ask is, are there anyone on the board that is interested in, I don't know, hold on. I'm sorry, Daryl. Is there anyone on the board that's interested in applying or being nominated as the primary and as an alternate for the NASB Advocacy Institute stipend? Dr. Harrell?
Yes, I said I was interested, but I mean, as long as more than one person can go, I feel good about that.
Oh, yeah, but this is a stipend though, so if is there someone else that's interested in going to it? See, Carol, yeah. All right, so shall we by general consent nominate Carol to be the primary individual for the NASB Advocacy Institute stipend? Seeing no objection, Carol, you are nominated as our individual. So I don't think I have to sign this. I think in the past I had to sign this one time for someone. I met him somewhere. Anyway, just please make sure you get it in before the 14th if there's anything that you need assistance to. All right. Next item of business is future agenda items. Dr. Woods.
Actually, Leadership TASB.
Oh, wait, Leadership TASB. I'm sorry, I'm missing this. Gerald, it's very exciting to recognize you as being accepted to the Leadership TASB. We're very excited for you. I know that there's a competition to get in, so good job. And what we need to do is, if we could please have approval for travel reimbursement related to Mr. Lopez's participation in Leadership TASB. Is there a motion that can come before the board? It's been moved and seconded that we approve attendance at Leadership TASB for Gerald Lopez. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Didn't we just approve the budget? We could put that in there.
Congratulations,
Put it in
though,
the
Gerald.
budget.
We're very excited for you. I think that is great. Dr. Woods, anything on future agenda items? We have a lot on that September 25th.
Yeah,
Very,
I'm already becoming, there may be some shifting later in the year on some of those items. Ms. McGee and I started that conversation today, as a matter of fact. So we'll, as of now, that's how we're carrying items. September's looking very heavy, so we may look at, see what we can push back.
well, and we have some interesting building committee discussions, I think, coming up that will be on this September 25th agenda.
Thus, part of my concern. So, also in your blue folder, you do have some other things I want to point out. You do have a memo about NEIC vacancies. We do need board recommendations by single-member district for NEIC. You've got an athletic pass for Harlan High School. Remember, Harlan's a 5A school, so different districts, so different athletic pass. So if you'll just put that wherever you keep your 6A pass.
Okay, so that's the one for 5A. 6A is in the one Friday's packet, which I haven't looked at yet. So,
Y'all got it.
last time, okay, and just an advertisement for Harlan and Holmes, which is going to be very interesting. Play Saturday at 7 at Ferris. At Ferris, I believe. Anyway, so Holmes is old coach with Holmes now from Harlan. Eddie's now at Harlan, and he'll be playing Coach Morales at Holmes. So should be an interesting game if anyone's in town.
And the Gucci Bowl is Thursday. But it's not at our stadium.
Oh, okay.
Couple of other things. You've got a mug from Dr. Mora that Dr. Harrell and I have managed to eat all the snacks out of. But maybe you still have some in your mug. And then last is an invitation to the ribbon cutting at the Family Engagement Center that you are all welcome to attend.
And I need to let everyone know, if you are going to make the ribbon cutting at the Family Engagement Center, please bring socks and underwear.
As per usual.
Kid size.
Just little, yeah.
Elementary.
I'll tell you, one of the groups that we really struggle with is bigger kids, older kids. High school. If you think high school kids, that's a real need. Because I think a lot of people think about younger kiddos. Katie, you and I can talk about that offline.
Okay, anything else? Any trustees have anything that needs to come on future agendas? Board committees? Yeah. All right, so at this time, we are moving into closed session. So, the Board of Trustees on August 28th, beginning at 9:35, will convene in closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Codes, Sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. All right, Daryl, are we back on? All right, the Board of Trustees, beginning at 9:40, will convene an open meeting. Are there any motions to come before the board? Mr. Blunt?
I move to proceed as discussed in closed session regarding the auto accident claims occurring under policy provided by Texas Association of Public Schools Property and Liability.
It's been moved and seconded that we follow what Mr. Blunt. We're going to use the language that Mr. Blunt in relation to the TAPS auto claims. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, next item of business on the agenda is the appointments. Is there a motion come for the board?
I move that we approve the administrative appointments as discussed in closed session.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the administrative appointments as discussed in closed session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. If there's no further business come for the board, we are adjourned at 9:41.